You might be wondering about your counterpart, someone close to your heart, your desired partner. What would happen if I behave differently towards them? Assuming you are in contact, how will he react to it? Will he notice that I'm writing differently, that I'm pulling back, that something is different? Or maybe you have or had contact. You reacted differently, maybe wrote differently. And now you're wondering, I pulled back, reacted differently, wrote differently. Does he notice it? What is going on inside him? Or what would be going on inside him? And now we're going to ask this question collectively. Dear ones, this is a collective reading. The person cards are gender neutral, and a collective reading can never be completely accurate for everyone one-to-one. The details that are included, that are shown, that I mentioned, are also collective energies. So please always adapt it to yourself and your own situation. So, for example, if I say at the bakery, that doesn't necessarily mean it's actually the bakery. It could be the butcher, it could be a supermarket, another supermarket, it could be a hardware store, it could be something else, it could be a park. So just simply somewhere outside. These are just examples. And I know you're all doing an amazing job, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart that you exist. I thank my wonderfully kind community, also for the way you interact with each other, for your comments. Thank you so much for that. As I said, this is a collective reading. The person cards are gender neutral, and it may not apply to everyone. Since this is a collective reading, just take what resonates with you. For example, if I say, yes, he drove a car, and you say, no, he doesn't even have a driver's license. So that can't be right, can it? Then maybe it was the bus instead. Or just leave out the car entirely, right? Like I said, it's a collective reading. I just have to keep things broader here. It's different when it comes to a personal reading. In that case, I'm tuned into your energy, your counterpart's energy, and no matter what the situation is or who it's about, I stay in that energy the whole time during a personal reading. Of course, right now I'm also completely in the collective energy, but as I said, it's about the bigger picture, okay? So you are wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you again for your warm and kind comments and for your appreciation. Thank you for your trust. You mean a lot to me. Your trust means the world to me. Thank you for that. So now I'd say let's get started, shall we? Okay, so let's take a closer look at whether he actually notices or would even notice, and what's really going on inside him when you react differently. Maybe you withdraw a little, or perhaps you write or speak to him in a slightly different way, or even present yourself to him in a new and unfamiliar way. So as I said, maybe you've already done this. Now you're asking yourself, did he notice? Did he get it? Or when you're in contact again, right? All right. No idea why I drew this card now, but I did. So let's just go with it, okay? Yeah. Okay. So first of all, let's look at what's really going on with him or her. We have the Tower. And the Tower, of course, we're starting right away with the Major Arcana, aren't we? So the Tower, there are conflicts, inner conflicts. What I already find really great here internally, this is about change, pure chaos inside your loved one. Maybe it also has to do with their environment. That's also possible. There have been quite a few things here that brought some unpleasant surprises. As I said, we are completely in the midst of conflicts here. Everything imaginable seems to be crashing together here. But these are conflicts leading to change. We are on the path of transformation. Something is happening here. Something is going on here. Now let's draw here. Wow. The Four of Wands. Fantastic. I think that's really great now. Four of Wands. Well, that means yes. In any case, we already have a yes here. He notices something. He senses that there is something, how he reacts to it. we really go deep here, but it's already starting off well. And especially with the Four of Wands, it's the same again now. We have excitement here, excitement, but also change, because he's somehow in this state of tension. But we're in a transition here. Something is still holding him back. Maybe he doesn't react at all or hasn't reacted. There's some kind of tension here, but movement is being shown again. And above all, what I also find fantastic here, we're in a fast-paced movement. So whether you've already written to him or you're going to write to him differently or react differently, or maybe you'll pull back and stop responding to messages. And then he'll notice it. And as for him noticing, now we're talking about days. We're now in the range of days, so it's quick. It won't take forever for something to happen. But right now, we're still inside his inner world. As I said, we're going even deeper into all of this here. Namely, here. No, they were there. Exactly like that. Now we've got it. Now we have wands again. Okay, the Ace of Wands. Yeah, I find that so, so fantastic. Ace of Wands. Something is on his mind, and something here is aimless. So here it's about, we're not talking about communication or change towards you. That means the withdrawal. Or as I said, I've given a few examples of what this is about. And there's something retrospective about it. So he's already realizing something here. It becomes uncertain. Uncertain that something here doesn't quite fit anymore. Looking back at maybe your previous messages from a few years ago, a few months ago, a few days ago, it doesn't matter. Or how you expressed yourself to him, or how approachable you might have been, So something is definitely happening here. And something is also occupying his mind here. And he wants to get things moving, maybe sees an opportunity, a good chance. There's something going on here. But we're still in the midst of the chaos, So, okay. But we already have something very, very positive here, the starting signal. And the Ace of Wands. He is uncertain. And we have again the area, first of all, another yes, okay. He senses something is happening. And again, we have speed, days, okay? And then it's also the case that no matter what season it is, no matter which season, it's like a new spring. There's something here like spring fever, especially when it comes to love. Something is moving here. Change, chaos. Maybe he or she was always in some kind of chaos, right? And so now we also have the coins. I think coins are absolutely great here too, especially when they're included. And if we now add the Knight of Coins as well, it's just incredible. We have 3 times yes. So I'm telling you that for sure. We really have it here. He notices it. He gets it. We have movement. And there is, his stubbornness is also showing, So, this stubbornness, I'd say, well, he's moving along pretty slowly and sluggishly. This stubbornness maybe means he's not open to discussion. Or maybe it's also that he did reply to your messages at some point. And it was always like that the whole time. Because of this stubbornness, he just followed his own routine and really had no desire for change. But no desire for change is right here. There is a change, Again, we have this. Something is different here. There's something different that he can't quite grasp anymore. And he keeps coming back to the point of love. Something touches him as well. Love, the foundation between the two of you. All right, then let's just wait and see what happens. Let's do it that way. So you have to smile like this now. And I have to smile like this because maybe he'll notice that you've withdrawn the change, that you're writing differently, or the question of whether you want to pull back and you don't know, should I not, right? Or that you're also thinking, if I write to him, should I react a little differently, change something, do something differently here? let me tell you, there's so much uncertainty, which is already being shown here, and which it then triggers in him. And let me also tell you, the thoughts keep spinning around nonstop. I can tell you that with absolute certainty. So, but he won't let anything show, right? Because I see him more in an observer's perspective in this situation. So, as I said, whether you've withdrawn or you want to withdraw, or there's some kind of change. So, changing something here, as I said, whether it's withdrawing, texting differently, arguing differently, something like that, or maybe not responding to him or her as much anymore. Some kind of change, so a change in an area where you used to do things differently, right? You were always there. I mean, you were always there. You gave everything. You were understanding. You always put yourself and your own wishes and needs aside because you always had this understanding, right? You were also sometimes pushed aside and ignored. He basically always took the lead. I had Heimer her hair. Just to put it bluntly, he decided when, he decided where, and for how long, right? He was the one in charge. And even when you wrote to him, sometimes he might have replied right away. But it could also be, or what I often see here, that he took his time to respond. Hours, days, weeks, maybe even months, because I always see this kind of delay here, right? So, and then it's like this. When you change, when you do something different, I'll tell you in a moment, what kind of change is being shown here, it has a huge impact on him. Because I also see this sudden awakening, realization that something just doesn't fit anymore. Something isn't right. So he notices it. Whether you're writing or you've written differently, right? So I don't want to keep repeating myself with either you've done it or you're planning to do it. You please, you should adapt it for yourselves because otherwise it just takes too long. I just wanted to mention that briefly. So the point here is you're writing differently. Maybe you're not even writing anymore, right? He's used to you writing, you know? He, as I said, has taken control himself and says, okay, I don't feel like responding, or yeah, I'll just reply with yeah, or I'll get back to you later. And then nothing else comes. And the thing is, if you stop writing, or if you now leave several days or hours of distance in between, if I create that distance, maybe I'm not immediately on his mind, not on the very first day, not in the very first second, you know? Because he's not exactly a quick thinker here. He doesn't necessarily pick up on it right away, since I don't exactly have someone here who's good at multitasking, you know? And the thing is, he will notice it. We're talking, you notice it quickly. We're talking about a matter of days here, you know? Inside, he notices it. And the reason he might not react immediately, I can also see here, is because he's really in total chaos. Because I see a complete change, a transformation in him, because a lot is changing here. I see him completely caught up in his worries, in his sorrow, activities. It could be hobbies, it could be work, his environment. I see all of that here. Here, I see one annoyance follows the next. So basically, the problems are just shaking hands with each other, you know? And as soon as one problem is gone, whoosh, the next one comes along. That's how I see it here, because there's just so much pressure. And if he sometimes doesn't write back to you right away, I don't necessarily want to completely shield him or make excuses for him. But it's also true that there really are quite a lot of other issues he's dealing with, things that are really weighing heavily on him, you know? So he's really being squeezed into a tight spot. But, well, these are his issues, his problems. I see him here completely in the tightest, in the most. It could even be existential fears, because I also see hints of existential fears here. Then there's the one or the other, wrong decisions made, bad choices, maybe financially, maybe professionally, with contracts, you know. He's also repeatedly let himself be influenced by others. He's fallen for someone here as well. He let himself be influenced. Yeah, so these issues, there's really a lot going on here. As I said, the change is coming from you. Now, if I look at your area here, on the heart level, you're actually on his heart level too, you know? Because I have a lot of heart here. I see the connection with the past, meaning with you in the past. And it's like this, it makes him thoughtful. He realizes that something isn't right anymore. Wait a moment. Maybe, as I said, not right after the first message, because he actually assumes that it's just a test from you, like a trial phase, you know? It's just a brief, I don't know, like a little blip in your stomach or something like that, that you're reacting this way now. But then you'll cave in again, become insecure, give in, and then everything starts all over again. So totally normal, right? Exactly. No matter if it's a conversation where you're not as approachable anymore, or you say to him, he says to you, exactly. You say to him, he says to you, this is about a meeting, right? And normally you were always like, yeah, sure, I'm in. Now, oh, phew, no, I can't, right? So that day, Wednesday might not work, Thursday, okay, right? Or even with the time. Yeah, it could be that he reacts a bit sulky right away and says, fine, then not, right? At first, I see that brief reaction from him or her. But the stubborn donkey becomes totally tame, and actually ends up following you around. Even if you write differently, maybe you wrote practically half a novel here, right? And explained yourself. I keep seeing you in this area, in this explanation, always giving a statement like, I couldn't because, right? I have various problems here, different issues. I couldn't, and then I'm sorry, things like that. So now that doesn't happen anymore. You've put a stop to that. You don't say it anymore. You don't explain yourself anymore. At first, he doesn't get it right away, like I said, but he notices that something is different. If you consistently stick with it, remove yourself from his energy. His space, your space, every important. Let him stay in his own energy. Make sure you step out of this energetic field of taking action. Wonderful, because then he starts to move, because he senses that something isn't right anymore. Because then it's like he gets curious, interesting. You make yourself completely interesting again, because I can see that his curiosity is very strong here. As I said, in the beginning, some people don't get it right away because of all their issues and problems, or they think, okay, you'll give in again anyway, so I'll just wait and see, right? If you don't give in even when you're in that place of, oh God, should I maybe after all? No, right? You stay true to yourself and stick to your path because now you're taking the lead. I see it like this. It's a bit like clutch and gas, So not like BAM, total coldness and rejection. As I said, you make your own decisions freely. We're talking here purely in a collective sense. No matter what area of life, whether personal, private, or now in the collective, right? You always decide freely for yourself. And then you say, okay, not quite like that, let's leave it, but also convey that. You remain authentic, loving, but with a certain boundary. Absolutely great. Because here I have his thoughts. Wow, is there someone else? Because that really gets him thinking. He starts to think, and I find that absolutely fantastic. So as I said, change, whether it's that you don't write to him at all anymore, or just this delay, simply that you have this delay for once. Just throw the ball back to him again and again, right? He doesn't write to you, you hold up a mirror to him. Okay, now I won't write to you either. There you go. That's actually you, right? He won't really get it, I can tell you that quite clearly. He won't really notice, oh, I did that too. No, I don't have him here like that now, But that's not really important right now, I'd say. Because the most important thing is that he notices something isn't right anymore, because he'll get curious. He notices the change, and above all, he also notices that you're no longer within his reach. You're out of his energy. The longer you stay in his energy, should I write to him? Should I maybe call him, or should I do that for him? Oh God, how could I help him? So for example, he doesn't make a move. I've really noticed he's honestly a lazy bones, in terms of energy. He's comfortable. He basically has everything. You're giving him your energy. And for him, it's like a land of milk and honey. I don't even have to do anything. But now you take the lead because you're stepping out of that energy. Absolutely perfect. So really, especially, it's also the case that on the heart level, he's reconnecting again. And hey, wait a minute, I love this woman. I miss this woman or this man. Because that's when the big feelings really come up, not just a little bit like a tiny butterfly fluttering by, but an entire butterfly farm forming here again, coming back to life. And that's exactly what you didn't want to see all this time, right? That's when I feel it even more intensely. I have the connection in its stability when you pull back. But as I said, it's not like after this you say, okay, wow, a complete cut, and now I'm going to deliberately make him jealous. If you do it deliberately, if you provoke like, wham, like, I'll show you now, then he just shuts down, But if you react just a little bit differently so that it's noticeable but not too much, you see then he starts to take action. That's when he begins to open up to you about himself. And then he'll also start to ask again, how are you? How was your day? Things like that. That's why I'm being cautious. He'll approach you carefully because, as I said, he's not getting any information from you anymore. For example, if you were someone who used to post a lot on social media, or if you were always at some cafe or somewhere else, then it means that you should maybe just go to a different cafe or stop posting altogether, stop showing anything about yourself. Just change something up. So a behavioral pattern that you used to have, you change it up a little. Not completely, but just a bit. Because what happens is it really sparks his curiosity. Something doesn't add up, but here it's really, really important. I want to emphasize this. Not every man or every woman is the same. That's very, very important. That means just because you react this way, it doesn't mean that every man will respond the same and say, hey, now. So I really, really want to stress this because there are also men and women too, so it's men and women, it's all included. And sometimes some people react in such a way that if there's no contact at all, they don't dare to reach out anymore, so I really want to emphasize that again. That's why please look at your own situation. Does it fit? Or does this reading fit for the collective? I also see the person you care about as being insecure and restless, That's why I say there's not really sure what he's actually doing. That's why I say if you now go all in here, really go for it and make a real cut, just to make him reach out again, to get him to become active again. Because I also see here that he might not necessarily do that, Because here I see more of a cut, a withdrawal from him, meaning that he really doesn't want to at all. So it's important. Not every man is the same, and not everyone will react that way. I can only tell you this here from this collective reading. As I said, there are also men who, if you pull back, if you stop responding completely, or for example say, no, I don't want to meet up with you, or not now, maybe a week later or something like that, some of them can react offended and then say, okay, then let's just cut things off completely. That's really important. I have to add that here, But here, as I said, after this reading, please take from it what resonates with you, adapt it for yourself, and put together your own puzzle, your own concept, okay? So what else do we have? So we have coins again and we have wands again. That's great. We have wands. We have the Knight of Wands. That's the one we have. He's getting impatient. So it's really like this, when you experience this change, this, as I said, you no longer feel the need to explain yourself how and what you do. You might still do it occasionally, If he does bring something up, like he says, look, today I did this and so on, or if he asks you, then you respond with, yeah, but not in a way where you give him everything, Always just a little bit, sometimes like this, sometimes like that, always just giving him a little. And if he comes to you, then you can meet him halfway a bit. It's like, yeah, in terms of energy, if he gives you a little something, you give a little something back, If nothing comes from him, then nothing comes from you either. But even if something does come from him, you don't give anything right away either, but still in a loving way, gentle about it, soft. Yeah, because he will get impatient. And it's the same there. That's when this impatience comes up. He really starts to get fidgety because something just doesn't quite fit anymore. And now it's getting really exciting. And then it can really happen that he comes at you very intensely with lots of messages. And you might say, wow, I'm totally being flooded with all these messages. What am I supposed to do with all this? So it's like this boom, Wow. And we have another yes. So we really have so many yeses now where he notices it, he sensed the change, and he will start approaching you more again. He will notice it, or he has already noticed it. And that's when he becomes active again. But he still has a few things, as I said, to clarify on his end. But he will become more active again. And as I said, regarding the question, if you do it, if you pull back, if you react differently, like I mentioned, just a little bias will definitely notice it. I've already told you earlier what his reaction might be. At first, he might be a little, just a tiny bit offended. But you don't give in, right? Or he might test you thinking, well, maybe she's just testing me or something like that. He'll expect you to give in again, but you don't. You really don't. And then something's not right here. What's going on here? What's different here? because he starts to feel insecure since he no longer knows if you even want him anymore. And that's the crucial point. He had always been pretty sure about that, you know. So from that perspective, I think what we have here now is absolutely fantastic. Now we have coins again, 3 of coins, okay? So he will definitely overcome his old behaviors. He will leave behind that old level he's been on all this time. So, and he'll meet you again on a more mature, better level with teamwork, you know. So he really will, he will definitely pass this test. And he will truly have a plan for how to approach you properly again. He will embrace change. We have another yes. So as many yeses as we have here right now. I mean, wow, okay? So it's really absolutely top notch. And now I wish you all a wonderful rest of the day from the bottom of my heart. And thank you for watching. Bye, my dears. Ciao.